Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I feel like it's a welcome back for me as well. It's no secret that I've been gone from YouTube for about a year now. I just had a really crazy time in my personal life. A lot happening, so many things. Like, I'm talking overloading at school nonstop. I did a 21 unit semester followed by a 26 unit semester. I got a new job that I kind of had to step into, so adjusting to that and then adjusting to the schedule at my other job was a lot. You know, just trying to balance both of those things on top of overloading at school. We joined a life group at church. That was definitely an experience that we learned a lot from. We just have been through it. It has been quite a year. And there's a bunch of other stuff that I won't even begin to go into. But moral of the story is this year has been a lot. YouTube was not something on my to-do list. And yeah, I feel like we're just now, like, life is still crazy, but I feel like we're just now starting to come out of that craziness. My life is starting to feel like there's some sort of routine to it, which is amazing. And yeah, that being said, I'm excited to be back. I stated it a while ago, but I want to reiterate that for me, YouTube is a hobby, yes, and it's something fun. I'm not looking for much to come out of this. I know that a lot of people pursue YouTube for like monetary reasons or because they want to be famous. Being famous is in no way something that I desire, not even a little bit, but YouTube for me is something I have felt called to, which I know might sound weird to some people considering I'm not really comfortable with the whole YouTube aspect, but it's a calling I feel nonetheless. And if there's anything that I have learned in the past year, it is listen and obey when God is telling you to do something. Stop fighting. I have had to learn to stop asking questions and to just follow. And while it has been terrifying, I'm literally trying to not cry already. Like, why am I crying already? I'm trying to not ask questions or live out of fear or anxiety, which my anxiety has been its own roller coaster of a struggle that I've been dealing with this past year, which is maybe more of a reason I haven't been on here, just dealing with a lot of that personally. It's hard because I feel like you don't really understand unless you have anxiety or, you know, similarly depression. It's a lot. It takes a toll on you. There are days where, like, you just can't function quite right, and yeah, so that on top of everything has just created quite the year. But if there's anything I've learned from this year, it's that I am here to listen and obey, follow God at His discretion, not mine, and He will use me where He wants to use me. And YouTube has been a calling I've felt for a very long time. While I'm not looking for the traditional things that some might out of YouTube, I am looking to reach at least somebody and to let them know about the good news of Jesus. That is all I want in life, is to please Him and make Him known. If I can help just one person meet Jesus, I've done my job. And for me, YouTube is an excellent way to try to do that. So that being said, I'm sure you can tell from the title of this video, I am going to be sharing my testimony today. It is extremely personal. It is extremely fragile, but I am no longer fragile. I am made strong. I am made new through Christ, and that is just something that deserves to be shared. And the mess that I am and the ways that He's transformed me and used me deserve to be shared. And I hope that it inspires at least one of you out there to surrender to yourself, die to yourself, and pick up your cross and follow Him. I feel so heartbroken because religion is just painted in such a negative light by those who haven't grown up with it, or some of them have grown up with it, but they grew up in a really toxic religious environment and they weren't ever truly exposed to Jesus, who he is, what he did, why he did it, and they were instead exposed to religion, rules, regulations, the do's and don'ts, and that's it. And that is just, Jesus is so much more than that. And I just want to share that. So, without further ado, here is my testimony. I hope that you listen, are encouraged, and have an open heart while you are listening, because this is my real story. This is my real life, and I'm choosing to share that with all of you. And so I hope that you get something from it. Thank you for being here. All right, so to start off, I was raised in church my whole life, literally as long as I can remember. My mom started taking me to church when I was an infant. I've been in church growing up there. I had a really sweet little local church I grew up in. I spent most of my life there. I can confidently say though that that church didn't necessarily help my relationship with Christ at all, but it taught me a lot of the foundational elements of Christianity. And that leads me into, you know, just childhood, adolescence is kind of all whatever in this situation. I always kind of carried this hurt with me that I never felt comfortable expressing. You know, you can go to your friends, you can go to your mom, you can go to your siblings, but some things are just so personal that you're like, I don't want to talk about this. Even though I love you and I trust you 100%, I don't want to talk about it. And so that was something I struggled with. And I would say that's something I've silently carried always, but I was around 12 when Aaron Vollmer, he is my other best friend. Aaron saved my life without even knowing that he did. Aaron is someone who was my youth pastor, and again, I grew up at a really small local church where I was the only youth. There wasn't like a youth group, it was Aaron and I, and that was my youth group. But what I loved so much about that, I'm crying because of how much I love Aaron. What I loved so much about that is that I got so much one-on-one with studying about the Bible and studying God's word, who God was, what he did, all the things, right? So it was me and Aaron against the world in my little 12-year-old life. I was so excited to see him every Wednesday and every Sunday because I knew that he was a listening ear, he was a friend, he was a mentor, he was everything that a youth pastor should be for impressionable youth. And you know, I feel like I don't remember much time going by at all before Aaron had a girlfriend. And, you know, being 12, 13, I was like, oh my goodness. And so I got to meet his girlfriend. I remember it was Christmas Eve. We were at the Christmas Eve service at church, and I was so excited because I knew Aaron's girlfriend was coming. And I was just, I was so ready because I was like, clearly if she's with Aaron, she's gonna be perfect because Aaron's perfect. And lo and behold, I met Deanna. She is perfect, okay? As perfect as we all are, I guess, but they're amazing. So now I had Aaron and Deanna, this couple, they got engaged, got married, you know, the whole 9 yards. And before I knew it, I had Aaron and Deanna leading me during my youth group, which was so amazing because now I also have a woman's perspective, right? I have that insight that is so valuable and that is so important coming from a woman. We, men and women, we are all created so differently. We have just different perspectives on life. We do things differently. Our motivation for doing things is entirely different, even if we're doing the same thing. And so having a man and a woman to learn from was something really impactful and really amazing, and that I think more churches should incorporate in their youth group systems. So I had Aaron and Deanna, and you know, they really just taught me all the things that I thought I already knew. They helped me deconstruct, go through the Bible, read it. We did video studies, and you know, to them maybe they were just showing up, doing their best, doing a job. I don't think they even still maybe recognize the impact they had on me in my faith, and the fact that they were teaching me so many things that I otherwise wouldn't have been getting. Because as stubborn children sometimes do, my mom tried to teach me. I wasn't always receptive to my mom. And I love her and adore her, and she's my best friend on the face of the planet now. But my mom and I definitely had a patch there where I wasn't receptive to her. So I'm so grateful to Aaron and Deanna, because this is where I was getting that fill from outside of my mom and dad, which is important, parents. I'm not saying you can't be the #1 source for your children. My parents definitely are my best friends. I go to them over the most minor inconvenience. But having other people that you trust to be influences outside of family in your children's lives is so much more important than anyone realizes, because whether you want to believe it or not, your children are not telling you everything about your life. Like, even I can think of, like, you know, even my best friends growing up, like, their parents are like, we know everything, and I'm just sitting here like, okay. You know, and you don't want to rat anyone out, but it's like, just make sure you have some sort of mentor like that for your kids, because Aaron and Deanna, like I said, I don't even think they realize what they did for me in my faith. They gave me a foundation to start with. My mom took me to church my whole life, so I had those skills, and then building upon that to creating an actual faith is what Aaron and Deanna helped me with. So time goes on, and I'm now suddenly invited to Winter Jam. And so I go, and I'm at Winter Jam with Aaron and Deanna, and you know, it was kind of intense at first. I mean, I think I'm much more prepared for it now, being an adult. Being 13, my mom also fully knew Aaron and Deanna, and that's the only reason I was allowed to go, is because she knew I was with them. She was like, if you're gonna keep her and you're gonna watch her, she can go, fine. Because again, I was like 12, going to this like Christian rager, right? Which it is. I'm not being dramatic when I say that either. I know people laugh because they're like Christians and ragers, whatever. But if you've ever been to Winter Jam, you know. It's a lot. It's amazing, but it's a lot. So I was at Winter Jam with Aaron and Deanna, worshiping, you know, hearing from speakers, enjoying my night. And then Hillsong United came out and played the song Oceans. And I don't know what necessarily happened. I can't exactly describe it, but I can tell you that in that moment, I felt the Holy Spirit take over me. I felt a feeling I had never felt before. There is something so magical and so powerful about being in a room with thousands of believers all unanimously praising God and worshiping God. That experience is something you can't trade for the world. It was just so powerful, so impactful. I'm at Winter Jam, and the song Oceans is playing, and that's where God came and found me. A 12-year-old girl from Porterville, California. I was in the middle of this arena in Fresno, and God found me. I started crying. I don't think anyone knew I was crying because everyone was kind of having their own moment. I started crying, and that was it. That was my moment where I was like, he's real. And like, just thinking back on that, I know that not everyone has those moments and not everyone can understand those moments, but if you've ever had a moment like that, it is humbling to realize that God knows who I am, and on top of that, he cares about me. That is a feeling that cannot be matched. Not even a little bit. And that moment was when my life changed. Even at 12 years old, I understood there is something bigger than me out there, and that is when my life changed. Winter Jam ended, we went home. I was not the same. And I just remember telling my mom, I said, I know who Jesus is. And she was like, okay, that's great. Like, I don't think she fully understood the magnitude of what I was experiencing. I just remember her going, okay, that's great. You already know who Jesus is. Crazy. And I went to bed, whatever. More time goes on. My family has always frequented the beach. That is one of our top 2 vacation spots we've always gone to growing up. I was so blessed to grow up in a family that prioritized experiences over things. So rather than have the latest and greatest in terms of technology or clothing or whatever, which we still had nice things, I'm not saying we didn't, but instead of prioritizing that and investing in that, my parents invested in experiences, family vacations, trips as a family, things we can do on those trips as a family. That's something I'm eternally grateful for. I didn't always appreciate it at the time, being a child who doesn't know better. But now that I've grown up a lot, it's just so amazing. So here we are visiting the beach, one of our usual spots that we're always hitting up, right? And I've always loved the water. That is one of my things that's a special place for me, whether it be the pool or the beach. Water is somewhere that I've always been able to feel, I don't know, there's something about being immersed in water. I think now, knowing that I have anxiety, I didn't always know that I had anxiety, especially as a child. How do you even begin to understand something like that? Having anxiety, being immersed in the water, I think is something that has always made me feel safe. It makes me feel enclosed in a way, and I think just feeling that sort of pressure makes me feel stable and secure, which is so ironic considering that water does not do any of that for you. So we're at the beach and I'm doing what I usually do. I run straight out into the water and I'm swimming out in the ocean, which I don't do anymore because of a scary encounter I had with a seal. That made me realize, like seals, sharks are real, sharks could be here. So I don't do that anymore, but I used to a lot. We used to surf and swim and just go be in the waves. So I was doing that. And I just kind of took a moment while I was out there by myself. And I looked around and I just started praying, which I was 13 maybe at this time. I started praying and I was like out loud and I was like, Lord, thank you for bringing me here and thank you for being here. And it's just, there's something about the ocean in particular. I've posted about it before. It's so personal to me. I swear that is just where I feel God the most. Nature, but the ocean especially, is where I feel God. I see God. Just the ocean, I'm so passionate about it. It's powerful and terrifying, and it's also peaceful and beautiful, and it's strong, and it's resilient, and it's terrifying. But again, it's just powerful and beautiful. And there's something about that combination of being terrifying and powerful and beautiful. It reminds me of God in every sense of the meaning. It is where I feel that I'm wrapped up in this calm that I only experience while praying, that I only experience with God. I also experience it in the ocean. I just feel found, I feel seen, and I feel loved and supported, and like I can be free. And so whenever I visit the ocean, I take strolls, I take walks, and I will pray out loud. I will go in the water and pray. And it's just such a special place for me. Again, it's the most evident proof to me that God is there, because I sit and I admire the ocean, and there is just no way that that is a coincidence. You know, I'm sorry, evolutionists, I'm not sorry. That just doesn't make sense. It doesn't. There's no way that something like that just happens. Because it doesn't. God crafted that ocean with his hands. He made it with purpose, and he made it with all of these characteristics and features that remind me, and probably many others, of him. Whether it be in the mountains, or in flowers growing in a wildflower field, whether it be a baby's laugh, or just a sweet baby's face, whether it be, you know, the innocence of sweet, sweet children who are growing and maturing and blossoming into these amazing people, whether it be, you know, going for a scenic drive and seeing clouds and sunsets that are just gorgeous. None of this can be a coincidence. It doesn't make sense. I'm sure that we've all experienced an accident in one form or another in our life. They are never as pleasant as what all of this is. And I'm not small-minded enough to think that it all just somehow magically fell into place, because I know it didn't. So as you can see, I've always had this really passionate relationship with the ocean. I feel God and I see God when I'm there. So the ocean was always a place for me where I was able to go back and feel like I was experiencing God, like I was seeing God, and it gave me a lot of clarity. Fast forward, whatever, I'm a teenager living my life, and I get a boyfriend who's Mormon. And so, you know, I'm going to church at the Mormon church and experiencing all of that, and I met the most amazing people at that church. I have never met better people in my life. Those people have such good hearts. They are helpful. They are servants. They go and do things with the heart's purest intentions. And, you know, being in the Mormon faith was definitely a journey that showed me a lot about God and who he actually is, which is true and perfect. And, you know, I don't believe in my perfect God making mistakes, which led to a lot of hurt in my life. It affected a lot of relationships in my life, and you know, that was just definitely a very big part of my story, where then leaving that situation hurt and affected just a lot of things. So, you know, realizing that just I am Christian. That's who I am. That's what I believe. That's That's what is just true and right. That was hard, but it definitely was a milestone, a growing point. So then I took a trip to the beach with my mom, and you know, I just was kind of re-inspired while I was there. It reminded me of God and of his goodness and all the things I think I was just missing due to negligence and a false hope that I was putting in other things. So, you know, fast forward, whatever. I told my mom I was fresh out of high school, getting ready for college, just going through all the things. And I was like, you know what, Mom? I feel like I'm in a place now. I'm ready to be baptized. I had been baptized as a child, around 6 years old, maybe. I was in first grade. I remember that because my teacher was really proud of me and she told me that and gave me a present. But when I got baptized as a child, I didn't fully understand it. I faked my way through to that thing. When I was baptized as a child, it was because everyone around me was getting baptized and I felt that that was expected of me. So I went with it. Because I didn't fully understand, but as a child all I knew was, well, I love Jesus, so I guess that's what I do. So to me, I don't know, I feel like it doesn't really count. I don't think children always, sometimes they are, I don't think children are always fully aware of the level of commitment they're making in that situation. So fast forward, I told my mom, I want to get baptized. I understand now. I've gone through a lot with my faith, leaving, you know, one religion and then going through just, you know, all the things, all the things. I had been through so much at that point where I was like, I'm ready. I'm ready to be baptized. This is it. So I FaceTime Aaron and Deanna and I'm like, Aaron, I want you to baptize me. Will you please baptize me? And, you know, he says yes, and it's the best ever. Like, everything's falling into place. This is perfect. We go to the beach, that same beach in California that I connect with God the most at, and I'm baptized. So this is when I, as an adult who's experienced things, who understands now, I choose that I want to be baptized, and my life changes. For the best at first. You know, that feeling, I will never forget that feeling I had coming out of the ocean after being freshly baptized. Just this, like, the only way I can describe it is fresh. Like, I just felt brand new. I had just, you know, left relationships that were harmful. I left relationships that were sinful and that were dragging me down a path I didn't want to go down. And I was doing things that aren't me, and just all this stuff, right? And then I get baptized, I come out of the ocean, and I am new. I am fresh and clean and pure. I am born again in Christ, and there is no better feeling. As life has it, I'm still human. Regardless of being baptized or not, I am going to sin again and fall into my temptations. And definitely an immaturity that I had about myself was thinking that, okay, I've been baptized, I'm gonna be perfect for the rest of my life. I am going to make sure that I don't sin ever again. I'm going to perfectly avoid it. I'm going to be perfect because this is my second chance. I'm not gonna mess up my second chance. And I was just being such a foolish human. I truly thought that I could win against sin on my own. LOL, right? Like, that's the whole point. But I did trick myself into thinking that. So, you know, we're sitting here. I'm thinking I'm gonna live this perfect life, and lo and behold, I don't even remember when, because I probably sinned 3 seconds after being baptized and just didn't even realize it. But I get caught in sin. I get caught mentally, thinking things I shouldn't think, gossiping with my friend, just little things, but that are so detrimental to your soul. But I start struggling with that, with gossiping, with lying about little things, and just all these sins that just are affecting me. I start college. I'm going to my community college in town because I didn't really have like a dream school I was set on at that time. I didn't really, I knew what I wanted to do and I had a plan. I've just never desired the like college experience that everyone talks about. I didn't want to go away from home. I never ever in my life have been to a party, let alone did I want to go experience parties at the college level. None of that was ever appealing to me. So I went to my local community college to save money, save time. I'm not missing out on any of the stuff you guys are doing, so it was fine. I went there. My first semester there, I took an English course, and my professor is the true definition of a narcissist. He's self-aware though. He said that himself on the first day. He's fully aware of that, and he was proud of it. So, he was a professor who hates God, and I would say that confidently. I don't know what he's been through. I'm assuming he grew up in some sort of situation that led him to having like a traumatic church experience, maybe a bad family dynamic. I know that he hates God, and he made that clear through the book we were reading. He would find something in every other page to correlate back to Christianity specifically, and he would just rip it apart and rip God apart. And he went on tangents, and I had this class every other day, mind you. I had it twice a week during the school week, for like 2 hours, 2.5 hours at a time. And he just the whole time was going on tangents saying, and I quote, like, people who believe in those magical stories from that magical book are just idiots, they're naive, they're stupid. And he would say all these things, just belligerently going off on rants. And we're just sitting there like, I'm paying thousands of dollars for this, like, to be insulted. And my best friend and I were both pretty affected by that experience. It sounds dramatic. I mean this when I say it. I wholeheartedly believe that he was a demon. And I, especially at that time, had this cross necklace I wore every day. It was a sideways cross. The sideways cross is to symbolize like Jesus carrying the cross. And for me, it's just to remind me even further of the sacrifice that he made and all that he did for us. And so I always wore crosses. I spoke about God a lot. I've always incorporated him into like my writing for essays in one way or another, even if it's subtly. Just, it's part of who I am, so it's in everything I do. I can't hide that when it's part of my life. And I mean, I'm not saying that like I walked in and he was like blinded by the light of God. But I definitely think that there was something, whether it be that he noticed my necklace or he heard me talking to my friend and maybe overheard something. There was something about me where I swear I irritated his demons. And the only reason that that would be is because of Jesus. Because I personally am not so shiny and sparkly that I have the power to do that. But Jesus does. And Jesus lives in my heart, absolutely. And so I swear there was just something about me that irritated him and irritated his demons. And just the hate he had for me right off the bat in this class was insane. And I was shell-shocked. I am the definition of a teacher's pet. I always have been my whole life. I had elementary teachers telling me that I was their favorite student as they gave me my Scholar of the Year awards. Stuff like this. Like, I've always been a teacher's pet. This teacher hated me without hardly even speaking to me. Hated me. And I remember the first essay we wrote in that class, he gave me a C. You're talking to a straight A 4.0 higher now student, right? I just got a C on an essay. English is my best subject. Never in my life have I gotten anything less than an A on my writing, right? So I'm like, there's no way. And I don't have any comments on my paper either. It's just the grade. And so I'm like, how do I have a C on this essay that I like poured my heart into? Like, I know I did well on it. So I go after class and I ask him, you know, like, hey, what did I do wrong? Why is it a C? I thought I did really well. And he just kind of looks at it and he goes, oh yeah, it probably should have been an A. Maybe next time. Should have been an A. Then give me an A. Give me an A. I'm paying to be here. This is ridiculous, right? I was so upset, but I couldn't do anything. And he was just flexing his power even further. Whatever. I ended up finishing the class with an A. Barely, but I did. But I could just tell he did not like me, and he really did not like God, and he made that clear. And the way that him and his class so heavily impacted, I went through a lot that I'm not going to get into right now. I had a lot of thoughts and feelings when I was in that class, and so did my friend. And you know, I think that my best friend and I both were under, we were under a spiritual attack. We were enduring spiritual warfare. And I think it was genuinely because we were at the hands of a demon twice a week, every week for 5 months. We were pretty affected by it. And experiencing that just led me into a darkness that, like, wow, how do you even describe that sort of darkness, right? It was like a darkness in my soul. Spring semester starts and COVID happens. This is around that time. I only ever had my 1 semester in like a half of regular college because I got like halfway-ish, not even quite halfway, but halfway-ish into my spring semester and then COVID hit. And when COVID hit, you know, we were all locked down and isolated, especially in California. And I think that's just when, after not fully recovering yet from what I had endured that fall, I think that was just when Satan took it a step further and was like, she's down, now's my time. And he went like full force, baby, like right in on me, right? And I was just like, oh man, I was getting hit by all of these things, all these thoughts that I didn't even understand. My anxiety, oh my goodness, you guys, my anxiety, the worst it's ever been. Absolutely horrible. Oh my goodness, I don't even want to go back there and talk about that. It was the worst. All I can say is like, thank you to my family and friends for being there for me during that time and for being so patient with who I was and what I was struggling with and what I was learning in that time. COVID, the beginning at least, was so painful for me. I was just sitting in my room, sitting in anxiety, feeling trapped, feeling locked down. I no longer had that feeling of freedom that I had previously, being baptized in the ocean, being able to go to the ocean. All of that was gone. It was ripped away and I was alone, and the anxiety, it felt like I was just sitting in a small room and the walls were closing in. My thoughts were racing. I had no escape. I had nothing to do. I couldn't control it or help it. And finally, you know, I was like, I need to get out of here. I need to. It's not a want, it's a need. So I scheduled a trip to fly to my grandma's house. She lives in Texas. And I came for the whole month of June that year. And being able to just get out and be somewhere different where I was able to be a little bit more free in terms of I can now go to the store and not have people scream at me, right? All these things that fed into it, I was able to go there and escape from it. And it definitely helped. I'm not even gonna lie. It helped. Being away from certain people during that time helped. And so I was in Texas for the whole month of June, and that's where I kind of like reinvented myself mentally. I wasn't a changed person, but I was trying to find my way back to who I was when I'm rooted in Christ, because I lost that due to my fear and anxiety in COVID. I gave in fully, I neglected God, I forgot about him, and I did not give him the attention he deserves. So I was able to kind of revert back and be like, okay, God, I'm here now. I'm sorry. It was me again who left. I'm sorry. And just try to fix that. So I'm going through that, and I'm, you know, finding my way back to God, and I feel good. Life goes on. It's good. And I get engaged, married, moved to Waco. I mean, we had an awesome honeymoon before moving to Waco. And then once in Waco, you know, quickly, I love my job. The most amazing job with the most amazing people. Not at all like some other experiences I've had in the same job. So amazing. These kiddos are my world. You know, my church that was introduced to me by, it feels weird calling her my boss because she's my friend, but she's still my boss. So I guess my friend boss, she introduced me to her church, and so we go there. Love it. Love it. You know, just life in Waco is what I was hoping for my adult Christian life. You know, like I said, joined a life group that's very big at our church. Like if you're a member, part of the covenant you make with God and the church, with being a member is to be in a life group. We did that. Was not a pain-free experience. Was very painful and hurtful, and we learned a lot from it. You know, have had the best almost 2 years of my life in Waco, and also just had arguably one of the hardest years of my life personally at the same time, which feels really weird. But what I have learned through my life and through this last year, this whole process, is that God is so good, and I need to let go. I need to let go of trying to control things. I need to let go of feeling like I understand what he's doing or why he's doing it. I need to let go of the pressures that I've put on myself, and I need to turn back to who God calls me to be, who God knows that I am, who God says that I am. And that is something that I am now carrying with me. And part of that is responding to this YouTube calling I feel. He's told me to post on YouTube since I was about 16 or 17. And I'm just now listening, and you know what? I can't wait to see what comes of it. Whether it just be one person getting to know him, whether it be 100 people getting to know him, I can't wait to see what he does with this and with my vulnerability. I want to share with you very quickly one of my favorite Bible verses. So it's Psalm 23:4. Even though I walk through the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. That is a Bible verse that I've always adored. I've always loved. It has gotten me through so many things in life. And that's just, if anything comes out of my testimony here and sharing my journey with you, I just want you to recognize that even though you may be in what feels like the valley of the shadow of death, God is with you. He's going to comfort you. Maybe not when you want him to, and maybe not in the way that you want him to, but he's there. He's true. He will comfort you. He will shield you from evil. And if you are willing to join him, he will lead you to a better life. He has so much waiting for you. Love, peace, joy, acceptance, things that you're looking for, that you're trying so desperately to find in this world, in people, in things, in places, in experiences. The answer is God. And I know that Christians, we have this reputation for like shoving, you know, the Bible and God down your throat. But it's not that we're trying to. It's just, for me, like, if y'all just knew, you know, like, it's one of those things where it's so frustrating because for me, I'm like, but if you would just take a second, like if you just knew who God is and like the forgiveness and the love and the acceptance that is waiting for you, you wouldn't be wasting your time on all of these things, on all of these people. Like, just surrender, my goodness. And that's what I'm praying for you. I pray that whoever's watching this video, if you haven't already, I pray that you surrender to him and you fully give him your love and your life. It is so worth it. Thank you for taking time to listen to my testimony. This is my official welcome back to YouTube. So I will be posting on Wednesdays and Faith Fridays. Wednesdays will be kind of a mixture of whatever I want to post, vlogs, baking, fun stuff. And Faith Fridays are always going to be faith related. So thank you for being here. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video, comment down below something, what you want to see next, if you liked this, anything. I have links to all my socials and to my blog down below. And thank you for being here. I love y'all and I hope you have a good week. Bye.